Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Friday, April 25th, 2025. Today, I've gotten some updates on the Banxa situation. It's getting quite confusing to know what's exactly going on, and we'll talk about that. I also have a Crypto Times article that I want to share regarding the GCV, and I have some comments on the article as well as the negative impacts of people pushing for GCV. I also want to talk a little bit about comments on YouTube. I don't know if you've noticed, but YouTube comments can be very wonky. Half the time when I respond to comments, it doesn't even fill in the username. And that's a problem because sometimes people step out of line and I want to gently correct them. It's not clear who I'm talking to. If you see any misplaced responses from me, just know that it's not necessarily me. I don't always catch when YouTube makes a mistake. Half the time I have to go back and edit the comments just to put the correct username in, and then I'm not even sure they get the notification that I've responded to them. It's very bizarre. I don't know. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about the metrics. The circulating supply is currently at 6.95 billion pi, with 9.8 million pi migrated yesterday. And this represents 45,600 user accounts. There is currently 52.7 million pi in the Pi migration wallet. If you recall, there was only around 12 million yesterday, so it looks like they've topped up. The migrated unlocked rewards are at 1.8 billion pi, with 5.9 million pi unlocked and free to be traded on the open markets. Looking at the price action, the Pi coin is currently trading at 65 cents with a market cap of $4.54 billion, which is up 1% from this time 24 hours ago, and a 24-hour trading volume of $69.19 million, which is down 44% from this time yesterday. We seem to keep setting new lows with respect to market volume. Not quite sure what's happening here, but again, I will caution people to be wary of low market volumes because that's when exchanges play tricks. The Banxa situation is getting more confusing, not less. Yesterday, I put out a quick video talking about a Coinpedia article which said that the Pi coin was delisted. Now, a user in the comments felt that they could throw in their superior intellect and point out that Banxa is not an exchange and they don't list coins. I got to tell you, I do not like pedantic people. I don't like them at all. Yes, we know Banxa is not an exchange, but they do have lists, and that lists are cryptos that can be bought through the platform. Okay? It's a list. I did a poll this morning because after I posted that article, there were people who were saying that, yes, it was there and it's gone. And then there were other people that said it's still there, which made me question whether this Coinpedia article was fake news. The jury's still out. It does not appear that the Pi coin is completely removed from Banxa, but perhaps there is some sort of regional restriction that has popped up due to regulations or something that we don't know. As I mentioned, I've reached out to Banxa and I am hoping to get a response. The last time I reached out to them, they did get back to me. It took a few days, but I did get the answer I want, even though it was already confirmed at that point. As soon as I hear anything, I will be sure to let you know. This article appeared yesterday in Crypto Times, and it talks about the GCV movement and the negative impacts that it's having. I will say up front, the problem I have with this article is it seems to lump all of us into this movement. The GCV movement is by far the loudest, but by no means represents the majority. So let's take a look at this article. I will stop at key points to talk about what's being said here. This has been the building block or foundation of the Pi network, a 6-year-old crypto project whose popularity has spread like wildfire from Africa to the Middle East to Southeast Asia ever since its mainnet launch this year. The project has already amassed over 60 million registered followers since its inception, and Pi fans, or as they call themselves, pioneers, are eagerly awaiting to convert their mined Pi balances into tokens. Launched in 2019 by 2 Stanford PhD students, Nicholas Koukalis and Chengdiao Fan, the idea behind Pi Network was simple: build a blockchain where people could mine cryptocurrencies from their cell phones, requiring no power usage or heavy infrastructure. However, since day one, the Pi Network has been building its ecosystem on market buzz, promises, and hopes of getting high returns, thereby creating a cult status for the project, whose followers do not shy away from overestimating the Pi token's potential and future surge. Well, I'm going to stop right there. The Pi Network was not built on market buzz. Whatever buzz was created by the people who were involved. There were no promises of high returns. Okay, the only promise made was that you'd earn free crypto. And the Pi core team delivered on that, because we all have free crypto. Whether that turns out to be worth anything is anyone's guess. But today, it's worth 65 cents each. So that's better than a lot of cryptos already. As far as cult-like status, I don't like that term. They're not entirely wrong. The GCV camp does exhibit a lot of cult-like behaviors. My problem with this statement is that, first off, they talk about promises made for the project, which is not correct. And again, they seem to lump all of us into this same camp. I'm not a GCV fan. A lot of you here aren't a GCV fan. Take, for example, the concept of a global consensus value community among Pi fans. It's a self-acclaimed group of Pi fans who sincerely believe that the Pi cryptocurrency's value will one day reach the astronomical value of $314,159. The ludicrous idea behind Pi token's supposed true value actually comes from Pi's mathematical value, 3.14159. Well, no, it doesn't actually. That value comes from the unrealistic dreams of the GCV fan club. Who knows what value the Pi coin will ultimately be? Now, I will say the GCV is largely the result of statements made by the Pi core team, not for any specific value, but by the notion that users will set the price. And that's not true. As soon as Pi hit the open markets, the markets dictate price, not the users. I'm not quite sure what the Pi core team meant by users setting the values. This GCV movement or any user-defined price is just not going to hold. The markets are in control now. It's just a decimal point being moved 4 places to the right. What's the big deal about it, right? Well, there's a huge deal about it. This is money. You move a decimal place, it has a big impact on its value. So they're setting you up here. Currently, Pi is trading at 67 cents, a marginal 6.67% hike in the past 24 hours due to crypto industry pump. Hype and buzz are not appropriate elements of a strong crypto foundation. I agree, but tell that to all the meme coins and every other crypto that's currently being traded. A crypto project should offer real-life utility, solve problems, and provide great value to its investors. Qualities where a Pi network falls short. Okay, there are many cryptos being traded right now. How many of them have any real utility? Largely none. I would argue that the Pi coin has more utility right now because it is being used for purchasing goods and services, and it is being exchanged among pioneers for various reasons. Despite all the shortcomings, Pi has successfully built a cult-like fan base that supports the project blindly. There's that word again, cult-like. I support the project. I don't do it blindly. My eyes are wide open. As soon as I see any hint that this thing's going south, I'll let you know. These Pi fans, also known as pioneers, once again lumping us all into this camp, have started a global movement of Pi advocates and are rallying behind the dream of a sky-high global consensus value for the Pi coin. In this online campaign, Pi enthusiasts are appointing Pi ambassadors in each country, attempting to build a global movement for their ambitious GCV price dream. Because of these cringeworthy activities, many industry leaders and crypto analysts mock the Pi network and compare it to a Ponzi scheme. These same people have been comparing Pi to a Ponzi scheme since day one. Forget about GCV. Again, this is a word that people love to throw around, but the Pi network cannot be considered a Ponzi scheme. It is by definition not a Ponzi scheme. There's no initial investment. Sure, you can go on the markets now and buy Pi, but doesn't make it a Ponzi scheme. And before it went in open markets, nobody paid a dime to get into the Pi network. How is it a Ponzi scheme? Does it resemble multi-level marketing? Sure. And that's because it is the best and fastest way to build a network. Birth of the Pi GCV movement. Social media users and members of messaging platforms have organized collective campaigns to spread their predictions about Pi's future market value. The core element of this campaign involves selecting Pi ambassadors who serve as local representatives to organize events and share information about GCV across dozens of nations. That's a bit scary. The ambassadors of Pi serve as online representatives, leading their respective countries toward the goal of establishing Pi as a valuable asset in the coming years. I'm going to refute this comment only because it's factually correct, but these particular people are doing more harm to the Pi network than they realize. By pushing for GCV in a world that is ruled by fiat, you are creating a scenario where the Pi network and the Pi coin becomes a joke. You can't build utility on a joke. That makes us a meme coin. Merchants and businesses have openly complained that these people pushing for these ridiculous prices are causing them problems. I mean, they're arranging boycotts and social media campaigns to put pressure on businesses to accept Pi at the GCV value. This has to stop. The easiest way to kill this project is to allow this GCV movement to continue. The users do not set value. It's on the open market now. The markets are in control. If something changes in the future, then maybe something like a consensus value becomes possible. But it's not going to be this value, I can tell you that. The movement's energy is palpable. Pi ambassadors in Nigeria, India, Vietnam, and other countries present sample posts on their websites advocating for a strong, unified GCV. Various groups have set official GCV targets that seasoned crypto analysts would view as unrealistic for untested new tokens. Forget about untested new tokens. This would be unrealistic for any token. Unless there's only a few thousand in circulation, how can you justify a value of $314,000 per coin? You take 100 billion Pi coin, and I don't want to hear the arguments that, oh, that'll never see circulation. The fact of the matter is, it could. And you take that and multiply it by the GCV, and you can buy a whole other planet. Maybe 2 planets. Even a fraction of 100 billion at that price would be ridiculous. Pi users have found a central unifying cause that gives them both purpose and optimism. It gives them delusion. Yeah, you can find purpose in a delusion. You can find optimism in a delusion. But imagine the fall when that doesn't happen. The problem is I hope they don't take us all down with them. The dream versus reality check. The intense support for the GCV initiative faces strong opposition from crypto experts in the broader industry. Well, There's some strong opposition right here, and I'm not a crypto expert. The GCV campaign is criticized because its supporters base their strategy on wishful thinking instead of solid fundamental principles. I agree with that. The cryptocurrency value of Pi Network differs from Bitcoin and Ethereum because its coin lacks exchange listings and demonstrated utility outside of its native ecosystem. Well, they're not wrong there. Although I don't know what utility Bitcoin has. Bitcoin is a store of value, and it became a store of value because it never really gained any utility. And at this point, it never will. The essential problem with skepticism centers on the fact that cryptocurrency value depends on its practical use across transactions and decentralized applications, and as a store of value rather than on the number of ambassadors or collective holder desires. The mere act of selecting local representatives who set a price target does not establish genuine market demand or liquidity. Again, I agree. Critics compare Pi Network to multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes because of its primary strategy, which depends on ambassador appointments and social media referrals. Well, Pi Network does not rely on ambassadors. This was something that these people set up. Now, you could say maybe I'm an ambassador because I believe in Pi and I talk about it, but I don't think it's the same thing here. And to call it its primary strategy is just flat out wrong. Social media referrals? No, that's not how it works either. We use social media to spread referrals, but that's not its primary focus. Its primary focus is to get the referrals, however that happens. So in that regard, it is like a multi-level marketing system. But multi-level marketing is not necessarily bad in this case because we're not actually selling anything. We're using the strategy of multi-level marketing to build a network, and it's a very effective strategy. And again, the Ponzi scheme word here is just nonsense. Nobody paid a dime to get involved. The core definition of a Ponzi scheme requires an initial investment with promises for payouts in the future. And those payouts come on the backs of the people that you bring in. Pi Network doesn't work that way. I've said this before. The increase in mining rates that you get from bringing in referrals does not come from the referrals. It doesn't come out of their Pi balances. It's paid out by the Pi Network. So how is this a Ponzi scheme? It's just not. I hate the fact that they keep using this word, and they use it for very specific purposes, to cast fear, uncertainty, and doubt on the project. Don't be fooled here. Final thoughts. The GCV movement demonstrates the two sides of the crypto industry. On one side, it showcases how community power can elevate a crypto project. I agree. On the flip side, it also demonstrates that community support alone is not enough to build a strong foundation for a crypto project. Now is the time for the Pi Network team to understand that if they want to become a long-distance contender, then they must work on real utility and value beyond slogans, ambassadors, and viral dreams. So that was a long article. I've given you my thoughts on it. Overall, this article was spot on. The idea of GCV is very dangerous to the survival of the Pi Network. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you the exact opposite, that the GCV is necessary for their survival. Well, I've got news for you. The markets and the merchants who you are trying to shove this down their throats disagree with you. I disagree with you. And the Pi Core team needs to step up and do something to put an end to this, because this is going to hurt the Pi Network. But it's not going to hurt it today. Ultimately, these people will quiet down when reality sinks in. So don't panic. Stay the course. And remember, the success of the Pi Network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.